Sinisterism is about finding the primal aspects of the left-hand path, primal in history, primal in the psyche, thus obtaining truth. Thomas Leroy.
Greetings, my friends, and welcome back to your dose of sinister heathenry. But for those new to the channel, I'm Thomas Leroy, founder of the International Left-Hand Path organization, the Sect of the Horn God. The sect is an educational foundation created to not only make those with the black flame aware of its glow, but to also restore the shadow aspects to the ancient gods by going deep into the past, not only historically, but also psychologically. For the primordial depths of the psyche are limitless. So, if this sounds interesting, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. And if you want to learn more, join the organization, the Sect of the Horn God, at the link down below. Thank you. So, in my last video, I stated, even though some Odinists may argue with me over this, there are no true practitioners of Norse heathenry still around to ask about the dark shamanic aspects of the berserkers and the Ufanar. And guess what happened? The inevitable. I got a response. I disagree with your opinion on Norse paganism being dead. All types of European paganism are being recovered and Christ's cuckery is dying. Ancient practices can be recovered and even improved upon. Improved upon? We'll address that later. Now, when you're talking about modern heathenry or Neo-Paganism, you're talking about adapting myth, because that's the blueprint for all of it. And what most neo-pagan types don't get is that that blueprint has been so altered that if you attempt a reconstruction, what you build will fail, will collapse. This is because mythology is a powerful cultural force that both emerges from and shapes the society that created it, guiding societal norms and values. Myths are deeply rooted in the cultural, historical, and environmental context from which they arise. They reflect the collective unconscious of a society and embodying its values, fears, aspirations, and worldview. For example, the mythologies of ancient Greece, the Olympian gods, reflected the Greek emphasis on humanism, individuality, and the complexity of human nature. While Norse myths, with their emphasis on fate, heroism, and the inevitability of death, reflected that cold, harsh, and unpredictable environment that birthed that society. These are gods that confronted challenges that resonate with the struggles of the people who told these stories, such as survival in a hostile world and the acceptance of an uncertain future. And that which is at the mythological foundation of first world Western society is Christianity and its myths. The Judeo-Christian myths have profoundly influenced Western civilization, shaping its morals and ethical structures. For example, the Ten Commandments set of moral guidelines has influenced legal and ethical systems for centuries. Think about it. This Judeo-Christian framework is why in the Western world the predominant left-hand path entity is Satan instead of Iblis, Set, Ahriman, or even Odin for that matter, and why the sect of the Horn God was founded. We attempt to go deeper than simply Satan to find what's at the mythological, psychological, and philosophical foundation of the left-hand path. But getting back to Norse mythology, by the time it was documented, the society those myths grew out of no longer existed. The man who documented them was the Icelander Snorri Sturluson, but he did it a couple of hundred years after the Viking Age had ended. Now, we should be thankful he did this because his works are fundamental to our knowledge of Norse mythology, yet they aren't free from the influence of Christianity. His methods included reinterpreting the roles and attributes of gods, aligning mythological narratives with Christian cosmology, and emphasizing virtues in line with Christian ethics. For example, he twisted the dark god Odin to resemble Yahweh, or even in some ways Christ, with attributes of wisdom, sacrifice, and a central role in the cosmos. The story of Odin sacrificing himself on Yggdrasil to gain knowledge, he tweaked that to parallel the sacrifice of Christ on the cross. Also, Snorri's account of the creation and end of the world in the Prose Edda had similarities to Christian cosmology. The concept of an ordered creation followed by an apocalyptic end, Ragnarok, is analogous to the Christian narrative. And the moral dichotomy between good and evil, as well as the ultimate triumph of good, mirrors Christian themes because with Vikings, it wasn't about good and evil. It was all about order and chaos. But besides Norse mythology, Christianity has, without a doubt, shaped the ethical frameworks of Neo-Paganism. Many pagans adopt a moral code that parallels Christian ethics. The Wiccan Rede, if you're familiar with that, echoes the Christian principle of love and kindness toward others. The emphasis on personal responsibility and the idea of karmic return in many neo-pagan beliefs mirrors the Christian concept of sin, repentance, and divine justice. Thus, the ethical overlap is not coincidental. It's a reflection of the culture in which modern pagans have developed, which has been heavily influenced by centuries of Christian moral teachings. Now, getting back to the line, ancient practices can be recovered and even improved upon. How does one expect to do that? Only somebody with a modernist perspective on reality could think something like that, because you're not improving upon a structure whose foundation has no contemporary equivalents. Get what I'm saying? Mythological tales are not just simple little stories with often ambiguous meanings. They're not something that you can pull out of your ass or create on the spot. They're born out of the collective unconscious of a given society that arose in a specific place in time. Paradoxically, myth says in words that which cannot be said with words. Even though its meaning is understood, it can't always be explained. This is the revelatory magic of myth and religion, why it works, even when from a literal perspective it isn't true. But there's still a truth. This is what's missing from the real, not real argument. But I'm going off on a tangent here. Anyway, getting back on course, if you want to be a necromancer of the gods, do it. Attempt to resurrect them, please do, but you're not going to make them better, because the society that gave birth to them is dead. And the only way you can recapture even an inkling of their essence is by wiping away the veneer of Christianity. The notions of righteousness and evilness and even compassion and humility are so ingrained in our collective cultural psyche. We think this is the way it's always been, that they're the manifestation of some innate truth. But they're not. They're the byproducts of Christianity. In conclusion, my friends, mythology plays a crucial dual role in society, both reflecting and guiding it. Myths emerged from the cultural, historical, and environmental context of a society, while at the same time guiding societal behaviors. Thus, the morality of those ancient pagan societies was so vastly different than how we live today. But, as I've said before, there is no one more Christian than the Neo-Pagan. No one. And if they were to, I don't know, somehow, some way go back in time and attempt to preach their version of an ancient pagan society's mythical truth, finger quotes, well, I wish them luck.